Should I stop? What if she's in real danger?
It was supposed to be just another night, a routine drive home after a long day. But when Ricky Wilson's headlights caught a figure in the rain, something shifted in him. There, standing near the old train station, was a girl, barefoot, soaked through, clutching a trash bag like it was the only thing she had left. She wasn't asking for help, she wasn't even looking at him, but something about her still pulled him in. For a moment, he thought about driving away. After all, what could he possibly do for a girl like her? But then, before he could second-guess himself, the window was down, and his voice broke the silence.
Are you all right?
That simple question was all it took to change everything, because what he didn't expect was that this girl, this stranger, would end up saving him in a way he never imagined. Before we start our story, please let us know in the comments below where you're watching from. Don't forget to click the like button. It really helps our channel grow. Thank you, and now, let's begin. So, this is the story of how a millionaire saved a homeless girl only for her to save him in the most unexpected way. Ricky Wilson was a millionaire CEO who had achieved almost everything. He built his business from nothing, made headlines with his success, and lived a life many could only dream of. But behind closed doors, Ricky lived an emotionally empty existence. Something was always missing. He couldn't pinpoint exactly what, but lately, that void had become harder to ignore. That rainy night, as Ricky stared at the girl, he saw more than just a homeless stranger. He saw someone trapped in circumstances beyond her control, someone who looked strangely familiar, a reflection of the loneliness he had long ignored. He opened his car door, stepping cautiously into the pouring rain. Noticing the girl's immediate tension, she took a small step back, her eyes wary yet brave, gripping her trash bag tighter.
I didn't mean to frighten you. You looked like you might need some help.
She paused, taking a slow breath before finally meeting his eyes. Her eyes were strikingly honest, filled with guarded pride.
I appreciate it, but I'm all right. I was just waiting for the rain to stop.
The forecast says it'll rain all night. Look, I have an umbrella at least. Let me give it to you. You shouldn't be standing here like this.
Ricky moved toward his car, reaching into the back seat, then returned holding out an umbrella. Elena hesitated, clearly battling her pride and suspicion, but something in Ricky's calm manner put her at ease. Slowly, she reached out and accepted it, holding it awkwardly.
Thank you. I didn't expect kindness from a stranger.
Honestly, neither did I. But tonight, I don't know. It just felt right.
A comfortable silence settled between them, softened only by the gentle pattering of rain on the umbrella. Elena shifted nervously, still unsure of Ricky's intentions, yet she found herself strangely comforted by his presence.
I'm Ricky, by the way. Ricky Wilson.
Elena Martinez.
It's nice to meet you, Elena. Look, I live nearby. I have a guest room. You're clearly soaked through and cold. Just for tonight, would you like somewhere warm and dry?
Elena took a slow step back, surprise evident on her face. Ricky immediately regretted pushing too far, too fast.
Why would you help me? You don't even know me.
I don't fully know. Maybe because I recognize that look. Loneliness. We've all had nights where a little kindness might change everything. Maybe tonight is one of those nights, for both of us.
His words resonated deeply with Elena. For the first time, she looked up fully, seeing more than just a wealthy stranger. She saw genuine warmth and empathy, two things she hadn't encountered in months.
All right, just for tonight, and thank you.
Ricky smiled softly, feeling a strange warmth fill him, a feeling he had nearly forgotten existed. This surprising encounter wasn't just about helping a stranger. Deep down, Ricky sensed it could be the beginning of something meaningful, something unexpectedly powerful, but neither of them could imagine how deeply their lives were about to change. Ricky guided Elena into his luxurious home, feeling suddenly aware of every extravagant detail: the polished marble floors, lavish chandeliers, and carefully placed artwork. Elena stepped inside hesitantly, her bare feet leaving faint wet marks behind. She clutched her worn bag tighter, embarrassment coloring her expression as her eyes darted nervously around the elegant foyer. Ricky noticed her discomfort and quickly tried to put her at ease.
Don't worry about anything here, Eleanor. Let's just get you warm and comfortable.
She nodded quietly, following Ricky to a cozy guest room at the end of the hall. He switched on a gentle lamp, bathing the room in a soft, welcoming glow.
You can stay here tonight. There's a private bathroom through that door, fresh towels, and some clothes in the closet. My niece sometimes visits, so hopefully they'll fit. Let me know if you need anything else.
This is too much. I don't know how to thank you.
Just being here is enough. You should rest.
He stepped quietly from the room, leaving Elena alone. She stood motionless, overwhelmed by this sudden shift in her fortunes. Carefully she sat on the soft bed, running her hand gently over the clean, fresh linens, simple comforts she'd almost forgotten existed. Minutes later, Ricky sat quietly in his study, lost in thought. He wondered why this stranger, Elena, stirred such unexpected emotions within him. He built his life carefully avoiding attachment. Yet now he found himself genuinely concerned for someone he'd only just met. Ricky was so lost in contemplation that he didn't notice Elena standing softly in the doorway, wrapped in a cozy robe, hesitant yet curious.
Ricky?
Oh, Elena, is everything all right?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you again, but I feel you deserve to know why. I ended up where you found me.
You don't owe me an explanation, Elena, but if you'd like to talk, I'm here.
Elena took a shaky breath, finding courage in his calm, patient eyes.
My parents. They passed away in an accident months ago. Everything fell apart after that. I lost my home, my job, everything. I never imagined I'd end up on the street, but life sometimes has other plans.
Ricky felt a deep pang in his chest. Her vulnerability, her quiet strength, he realized it was more powerful than he'd anticipated.
I'm truly sorry. Life can be unfair in unimaginable ways.
I don't want your pity, but kindness, like yours. It's rare. Honestly, I'd forgotten how it feels.
Sometimes we need someone else to remind us who we really are.
Their eyes held quietly for a moment, a gentle understanding passing silently between them. Ricky felt an unfamiliar warmth spreading inside him, a feeling he realized he'd been missing for far too long.
It's getting late. You should rest. Tomorrow we'll figure out the next steps.
Thank you again, Ricky. Good night.
As Elena left, Ricky sat back, feeling oddly shaken, yet strangely hopeful. He'd initially thought he was offering Elena shelter, yet already he sensed something far deeper. Something unexpected was shifting within him, and as he switched off the study lamp, Ricky realized tonight wasn't just about him helping Elena. It was the first step toward Elena saving him in ways he could never foresee. But even that realization wasn't the full story yet. What happened next would surprise them both. The next morning brought gentle sunlight, bathing Ricky's home in warmth. Elena opened her eyes slowly, momentarily confused by the comfortable bed beneath her. For the first time in months, she'd slept peacefully, but waking up in such luxury felt surreal and unsettling. She rose carefully, noticing the neat clothes Ricky had thoughtfully provided, clean jeans and a soft sweater. Elena slipped into them, feeling both comforted and strangely self-conscious. In the kitchen, Ricky was already awake, quietly sipping his coffee, lost in deep thought. Hearing her gentle footsteps, he turned, offering a welcoming smile.
I hope you slept well. My guest room has a reputation for being the coziest in town.
Honestly, it was the best sleep I've had in months. Thank you again.
Ricky gestured gently to a steaming mug of coffee and fresh pastries on the table.
Please sit. Have breakfast. You must be starving.
Elena hesitated briefly, then slowly sat down. The warm coffee tasted amazing, instantly comforting, easing her lingering anxiety. Ricky observed her quietly, noticing how delicately she ate, as though afraid to take too much. It tugged at his heart.
Elena, I want you to feel comfortable here. Don't worry about anything. Take all the time you need.
It feels strange. Your life is so different from anything I've ever known.
I understand that, but believe it or not, my life isn't as perfect as it looks. It's lonely. Having you here makes the place feel alive again.
Elena glanced up, surprised by his openness. She sensed the quiet sincerity behind his words and found her own guard slowly dropping.
You have everything anyone could want. How can someone like you feel lonely?
I used to think success meant never feeling empty again. But I was wrong. Money doesn't fill every gap, Elena. Some things can't be bought.
His words resonated deeply within her. Elena saw something unexpected behind Ricky's successful facade. A man quietly longing for something real.
Maybe what you need isn't another success story, Ricky. Maybe it's connection. Real human connection.
I think you're right. Funny. I didn't realize how badly I needed that until last night.
Their eyes lingered softly. A new, delicate understanding formed between them, a subtle shift from strangers to something warmer. Perhaps friends, perhaps more. Ricky broke the comfortable silence first.
By the way, I noticed you had some sketches with you. You're talented.
Elena blushed, caught off guard by the sudden praise.
They're just sketches. I haven't drawn seriously in a long time.
You have a gift. You should pursue it. Artists like yours deserves to be seen.
Elena felt an unexpected warmth in her chest. Ricky's genuine praise reminded her of dreams she had long buried, beneath layers of hardship.
Thank you. No one said that to me before.
Then it's about time someone did.
They shared another gentle smile, both quietly realizing how natural their conversation had become. What began as awkward strangers adjusting to a new reality was quickly transforming into something deeper, warmer, and undeniably meaningful. Yet neither of them knew how dramatically their growing bond would soon be tested, because hidden truths and unexpected challenges were waiting just around the corner. But that wasn't the whole story. Later that afternoon, while Ricky took a few calls in his study, Elena wandered the house, exploring quietly. The walls were lined with art, most modern, some abstract, all expensive, but none of them spoke to her the way the pencil in her hand always had. She found herself drawn to the sunroom, a quiet corner flooded with natural light. There, on a side table, sat a simple sketch pad and a set of charcoal pencils. Without thinking, she sat down and began to draw. Time slipped away. Her hand moved instinctively, shaping soft curves and shading fine lines. Her heart felt lighter with every stroke, as if the pressure of the last few months melted into the page. Ricky, finished with work for the day, walked in holding 2 mugs of tea. He paused mid-step.
Wow. Elena, did you draw that?
She startled, nearly dropping the pencil.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to use your things without asking.
Are you kidding? That's incredible. You've got serious talent.
Elena glanced down at her drawing, a quiet landscape, a park from memory, with a lone figure sitting under a tree. Her expression softened, pride and hesitation mixed.
I used to draw all the time, before everything, before life got so complicated.
Why did you stop?
Because surviving became more important than dreaming. Art doesn't pay rent, not when you're alone.
Ricky sat beside her, the air between them quiet but full of something unspoken. He looked at her sketch again, then at Elena.
Maybe no one gave your dreams a chance, but that doesn't mean they're not worth something.
Elena's eyes welled, just a little. No one had said that to her. Not her teachers, not her old bosses. Just this stranger turned shelter who saw something in her she'd almost forgotten existed.
I used to imagine my drawings hanging in a gallery. Silly, right?
Not silly, not at all. Eleanor, you've got something rare. And now you have space to dream again.
Her breath caught. The way he said it, like it was fact, not fiction, made it hard not to believe him.
I don't even know how to begin again.
Maybe you just did.
In that moment, something shifted. Ricky wasn't just the man who gave her a warm room for the night. He was someone who saw her, not as a burden or charity, but as a person worth believing in. And Elena? She wasn't just the girl he'd found in the rain. She was starting to change him too, reminding him what it meant to care, to connect, to feel alive again. But the heart has its own rhythm, and while both were unaware, something beautiful was already blooming between them, something neither could stop nor explain. Still, life had more surprises in store, and what happened next would test the very foundation they were just beginning to build. Days passed quietly, but something inside Ricky began to shift, something he couldn't ignore. His routine, once sharp and structured, started to soften. He found himself waking up earlier just to make breakfast before Elena came down. He'd catch himself smiling when she laughed, and thinking about her when she wasn't in the room. The mansion that once echoed with silence now carried the faint sound of sketches being made, tea being poured, and conversations that lasted longer than expected. One evening, Ricky sat on the patio, staring out at the city lights with a thoughtful look on his face. Elena stepped outside, a soft breeze catching the hem of her sweater.
You always look like you're trying to solve a mystery when you sit out here.
Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm just trying to understand how someone like you walked into my life so suddenly.
Someone like me?
Someone who makes this place feel less empty.
Elena looked down, her fingers brushing the edge of her mug. She wasn't used to words like that. Honest, heartfelt, and without pity. But Ricky's voice held no condescension, only sincerity.
I'm not used to this either. Feeling like I belong somewhere.
You do?
They sat in silence for a moment, comfortable and close. The night air was cool, but the space between them felt warm. Later that night, Ricky stood in front of his bedroom mirror. He didn't recognize the man staring back, not entirely. He looked softer, lighter, like the weight he'd carried alone for years had shifted. He walked down to the art room where Elena often sketched. She wasn't there, but her latest drawing sat on the table. It was a portrait. His portrait. But Ricky Wilson, the man who had offered a stranger a ride and ended up finding something he'd forgotten he needed. She'd captured him with stunning accuracy, down to the weary eyes that were now a little less tired, and in that moment, Ricky realized something. He hadn't just given Elena shelter. She'd given him something far more valuable. She made him feel seen. The next morning, Ricky lingered longer at breakfast, waiting for Elena. When she arrived, rubbing the sleep from her eyes and tucking her messy hair behind her ear, he couldn't help but smile.
I saw your drawing.
Oh, I was going to show you, but I wasn't sure how you'd feel about it.
It's beautiful. You captured something I didn't even know was still there.
You looked like someone trying to remember how to feel again.
And somehow, you reminded me.
They looked at each other for a long moment, something unspoken resting between them. Not quite love yet, but something close, something tender, something true. Ricky had spent years building walls, and Elena, without trying, was slowly tearing them down. Not with force, but with presence. She didn't come to save him, but somehow, without realizing it, she already had. And what happened next would only pull them closer, until there was no going back. Ricky had been planning a small dinner party that weekend. A casual gathering of old friends and business partners. It had been arranged before Elena entered his life, and he nearly canceled it. But Elena, ever modest, insisted he go ahead with it.
Don't cancel on my account. I'll just stay out of the way.
You're not a secret, Elena. You're my guest. You don't have to hide.
Elena smiled faintly, but kept her distance as the guests arrived. Ricky introduced her politely, calling her a friend staying with me for a while. And most people smiled and nodded. On the surface at least. But not everyone was kind behind closed doors. Later in the evening, as soft jazz played and laughter echoed through the halls, Elena stepped out into the garden for some fresh air. That's when she overheard it. Two women near the doorway, whispering with smug expressions.
Did you see the girl Ricky's playing knight in shining armor for?
She was barefoot the other day, I heard. Picked her up off the street like a stray cat.
Can't believe Ricky's letting someone like her into his house. What's next? Marriage?
Elena's heart sank. Her cheeks burned with shame, even though she'd done nothing wrong. She turned away, walking back into the shadows of the garden, unsure what hurt more, the words or the fact that they echoed thoughts she sometimes had about herself. She didn't realize Ricky had seen her leave the room earlier, and now he was watching from the doorway, having heard every word. His jaw clenched. The laughter from his so-called friends didn't sit right with him anymore. Without hesitation, he walked over to the women, his tone calm but cold.
You're in my home, and if you can't show basic respect to someone under my roof, you're not welcome here.
Ricky, we were just joking.
It didn't sound like a joke, and even if it wasn't funny.
Silence fell like a curtain. The guests shifted awkwardly, suddenly realizing Ricky was not the man who tolerated gossip behind smiles. He left them standing there and stepped into the garden, his eyes scanning until he found her. Elena sitting on a bench, her face turned away.
Elena.
I heard them.
So did I. And I made sure they knew how wrong they were.
She looked at him, vulnerable, her confidence cracked.
I don't belong in your world, Ricky. I never did.
Don't say that. The only thing that doesn't belong here is their arrogance. You're more than welcome, Elena. Not because you're flawless, but because you're real. And I'd rather share my home with someone real than 100 polished masks.
Elena blinked away tears. She didn't know what to say, but her heart, long guarded, opened just a little more.
You always know the right thing to say.
No, I just mean it when I talk to you.
And there, in the quiet of the night, surrounded by a party that no longer mattered, something real took root, deeper than charity, stronger than gratitude. They weren't just strangers sharing a roof anymore. They were two souls leaning toward each other, one quiet moment at a time. But what neither of them knew was that love, the kind that rewrites your story, was already on its way, and what happened next would leave no room for doubt. The days that followed felt different, lighter, warmer, and filled with moments that made time slow down. Ricky and Elena found themselves spending more time together, not out of obligation, but because it simply felt right. Mornings began with shared breakfasts and easy conversations. Evenings ended with walks in the garden or sitting by the fireplace, where silence between them felt full. One quiet evening, they were on the patio, watching the sun sink beneath the horizon. Elena had just finished a new sketch, this one of the garden, with little touches of Ricky's favorite flowers added in.
You made my hydrangeas look better than real life.
That's because on paper, they never wilt.
Neither do you, apparently. You keep blooming no matter what.
Elena looked at him then, not just with gratitude, but with something gentler. Something that made Ricky's breath catch just a little. They held each other's eyes, and the air between them grew still. This wasn't a moment either had planned, but neither could ignore it.
Ricky, can I ask you something?
Anything.
Why me? Why did you stop that night? You didn't even know me.
I don't know if I can explain it fully. I just felt something, like fate was tapping on my shoulder. And the moment I saw you, I knew I couldn't just drive away.
Her eyes filled with something deeper than surprise. Hope, a flicker of belief that maybe she was worth stopping for.
I've spent so long feeling invisible, like I could disappear and no one would notice.
I noticed, and I never want you to disappear.
There was a pause, not awkward, just full of everything they weren't saying yet. Then Ricky reached for her hand, slow and careful. Elena didn't pull away.
I don't want to overstep, Elena, but I think I'm falling for you. Not out of pity, not out of impulse, but because every day with you feels like something I didn't even know I needed.
You're not overstepping. I've been trying not to feel it too, but I think I'm falling for you too.
And just like that, the unspoken became spoken. The distance between them vanished. There was no dramatic kiss, no sweeping music, just two people who had quietly fallen into something real. Love didn't rush in like a storm. It arrived like a sunrise, slow but certain, casting light on every dark corner they'd hidden from the world.
Whatever happens next, I want to face it with you.
Then let's face it together.
And as the stars emerged overhead, Ricky and Elena sat there, hand in hand, no longer strangers, no longer broken pieces, just two hearts, finally finding home in each other. But their love story wasn't done, not yet, because every heart carries its secrets. And before the end, both would reveal parts of themselves they'd never shared before. And what those secrets uncovered would change everything. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when the past came knocking, not with noise, but with the kind of silence that carried weight. Ricky and Elena were in the sunroom, sipping tea. She was sketching. He was pretending to read, but his mind had wandered. Something had been on his chest for days. And though everything between them felt perfect now, Ricky knew true love couldn't live beside secrets. He set the book down.
Elena, there's something I've never told you, and you deserve to know.
What is it?
There was someone before you, years ago. Her name was Sophie. We were engaged.
Elena's heart paused, but she said nothing, just listened.
I thought I had everything figured out back then, but I was more in love with the idea of love than with the person. I was too focused on success, too selfish to make space for anyone else.
What happened?
She left me, right before the wedding, said she felt invisible in my world, that I only loved her when it was convenient.
He looked down, ashamed, not just of losing Sophie, but of the man he used to be.
I built these walls after that, told myself love wasn't for people like me. And then, you came along, and now everything feels different. Scary, but different.
Ricky, I thank you for telling me.
She reached across the table, taking his hand. He looked up, surprised by the calm in her eyes.
We all carry ghosts. I have mine, too.
You do?
I wasn't just on the street because of bad luck. After my parents passed, I trusted someone. A man who promised to help me, care for me. He said all the right things, but he used me, took everything I had left and left me with nothing.
Ricky's jaw tightened, not out of anger toward her, but anger at the world that had hurt her.
You didn't deserve that. Not even close.
For a long time, I thought maybe I did, that maybe I wasn't meant for good things. But then, you pulled up in that car, and you looked at me like I mattered.
They both sat in silence, holding each other's truths, like fragile glass. There was pain in the air, but also peace.
We found each other in the middle of the storm.
And somehow, we're still here.
Theirs wasn't a perfect story, but in the quiet revealing of wounds, in the courage it took to share those scars, they found something unshakable: trust, healing, real love. That afternoon, no declarations were needed. Just two people sitting across from each other, finally whole in their brokenness. But their story still had one chapter left. The chapter where they would realize it wasn't just about saving one another, it was about choosing to stay. And in the final pages, that choice would change everything. The days that followed felt like peace, not the kind you fake when you're busy or distracted, but the kind that comes when two hearts finally stop running. Ricky's once cold, calculated home now felt lived in. There was laughter in the halls, sketchbooks scattered across tables, and the smell of fresh coffee shared between two people who no longer felt alone. One morning, as sunlight streamed into the kitchen, Elena stood by the window, sketching. Ricky leaned against the counter, watching her, not just admiring her beauty, but the quiet strength that radiated from her.
You saved me, you know.
Me? Ricky, I was the one standing in the rain with nowhere to go.
Exactly. And yet you brought more life into this house than anything money ever did. You reminded me how to feel, how to care, how to be human again.
Elena set the pencil down and looked up at him, heart full.
I didn't plan any of this. I thought I was just trying to survive. I didn't know I'd find someone who saw me.
I didn't just see you, Elena. I felt you. Every time you smiled, every time you spoke with that quiet fire. I knew I didn't want to live another day without you in it.
It wasn't a grand proposal. There were no rings or candles or crowds. But when Ricky pulled her close and whispered,
Stay, for good.
I was already yours.
And in that moment, two people who had been lost in very different ways finally found home. Not in walls or wealth or promises, but in each other. Ricky had saved a girl from the rain, but she had saved a man from the loneliness of a life lived without love. This was no fairy tale. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, built not on fantasy, but on second chances. And maybe that's what made it so powerful, because sometimes the most unexpected love stories are the ones that change everything. At its core, this story reminds us that love often finds us in the most unexpected moments, when we're not looking, and sometimes not even willing. Edward, a successful but emotionally closed-off millionaire, never imagined that stopping for a girl in the rain would change the course of his life. And Elena, who had lost everything, didn't expect the hand that pulled her from despair to come from a stranger behind a luxury car window. But it wasn't wealth that healed them. It was presence. It was listening, understanding, and daring to care when it was easier not to. This story teaches us that everyone, no matter their past or pain, deserves to be seen and loved for who they are, not where they've been. It also shows that true connection isn't built on appearances or status, but on honesty, trust, and shared vulnerability. Sometimes you save someone simply by showing up, and sometimes that someone ends up saving you right back, without ever meaning to, because love doesn't always come crashing in. Sometimes it starts with a quiet, gentle question, "Are you all right?" And from there, the whole world changes. If this story touches your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us share more emotional, heartwarming love stories like this one. And remember, love isn't about finding the perfect person, it's about finding someone who makes your world feel perfect. Until next time, stay inspired and stay a romantic millionaire.